Chapter 8. Laws of Daring Leadership. The world is a jungle. You either fight and dominate or hide and evaporate. The law of purpose awakening. Purpose is powerful. It is the sleeping lion inside every agent of change. When you find your purpose, you become unstoppable. Daring leaders are purposeful. They wake up the lion sleeping in their hearts. There is nothing special we can do with our life until we have a clear understanding of why God has decided to put us where we are today. I always like to tell my co-workers in ministry that when you take God's purpose out of what we do, what we have left is meaningless. Purpose is what adds meaning to life and all we do with it. The first law a leader must exercise in order to become audacious in getting ready to be a daring leader is clear leadership purpose statement. Purpose is the fuel of passion. Purpose is the fuel that powers passion. Understanding of purpose can fire up a leader and make him do extraordinary things for the Lord. When a leader does not understand his purpose, he cannot have a drive. A leader without a divine sense of leadership purpose cannot achieve much for God and his people. You cannot make your mark on earth until you have defined your path. To lead in an uncommon way requires that you know why you are being prepared for leadership at a time like this. Rediscovering leadership purpose. We need to thank God for a mentor like Mordecai, who helped Esther to rediscover and redefine her leadership purpose. Esther chapter 4 and verse 14. Before this time, the new queen, Esther, wanted to avoid the call to daring leadership. Having heard the word of her uncle, she began to state the dangers and consequences of daring leadership. The greatest of all these dangers is death. Esther chapter 4 verse 10 to 11. Esther did not want to risk death, but little did Esther know that leadership is a death adventure. For instance, if God is calling you to a full-time ministry, you must be ready to die to your personal ambition. In most organizations today, you will find many who are not fulfilled, having discovered a different path which the Lord wants them to take. But for the fear of death, to monthly pay back titles and other delicacies of Egypt, they have refused to move. If you are not willing to die, you are not qualified to accept the responsibility of leadership, and you are not likely going to fulfill your destiny anyway. Spark that creates internal and external revolution. But then, as soon as Mordecai made us see our leadership purpose, something sparked up in Esther that changed the entire course of history. Mordecai challenged Esther to change her thinking. Esther chapter 4 and verse 13. He helped her to think purposefully instead of playing safe. He made Esther know that God will find another alternative if Esther refuses to execute the purpose for which God brought her to the palace. Esther chapter 4 and verse 14a. How I wish our political leaders will borrow a leaf from Esther, realizing that if they refuse to carry out the purpose of God as leaders, God will still cause enlargement and deliverance to arise for his nations, and they and their households will not escape the destruction of God's judgment. Who is your Mordecai? Here comes a very profound question. Do you have a Mordecai in your life? To be a daring leader, you will need someone like Mordecai, who is also a daring leader to make you refocus on your leadership purpose and also wake up the sleeping lion inside you. Esther chapter 3 and verse 2. It takes a daring leader to raise a new daring leader. You need someone in your life who will not allow you to trade your purpose for pleasure. You need your own Mordecai. It would have been a different ball game for Esther if not for this daring leader who did not allow his protege rest until the purpose of God is carried out. When Esther finally discovered her leadership purpose, she became a daring leader. She became a revivalist. She became a restorer of hope. She stood to get victory for her people. She became a leader never to be forgotten. The law of separation. The leadership crisis around the world today is not for an absence of leadership. It is the lack of daring and revolutionary leadership that can only be expressed by those who have not been infected with the contamination of the moment. Becoming a daring leader capable of bringing the long-awaited transformation to the nations of the world requires the exercise of separation. Leaders cannot change what they are voluntarily enslaved to. The simple truth about the law of separation is that leaders cannot change what they are enslaved to. It takes separation from corruption to bring transformation anywhere as a leader. I believe this is the reason why our own dear country has not been delivered from corrupt leadership. We wrongfully expect leaders who themselves are slaves to corruption to destroy corruption. This is an impossible mission. Corruption cannot fight corruption, just as Beelzebub cannot cast Beelzebub out. God cannot use you until He has separated you. Separation is a key prerequisite for a leader called by God to a revolutionary leadership assignment. Abraham was called into separation. Genesis chapter 12 and verse 1. Joseph was separated from his brethren for 13 years. Genesis chapter 49 and verse 26. Moses was separated from Egypt for 40 years. And by the time he returned, he was not the old Moses anymore. He had become so daring that he demanded for the emancipation of his people. Paul the apostle declared that it pleased God to separate him from his mother's womb and called him by his grace. Galatians chapter 1 and verse 15. From these biblical examples listed above, you must have realized that God only uses those He has been able to separate from every form of contamination and impediment. His word is, "Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Do not touch what is unclean, and I will receive you." 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 17. If you are willing to have God use you as a mighty instrument that will transform lives and nations, you must be separated from every form of corruption and contamination. Separation is a daring step. Separation from wrong and common lifestyle requires boldness, courage, fearlessness, and grit. The law of separation requires that you surround yourself with only those on the same mission as you. This is how you can develop the impetus necessary to be qualified for an unusual leadership task. The guts, moral fiber, nerves, and spirit to separate ourselves from the corruption of our generation demand that God's love occupies the first place in our lives. How much you love God determines what you are going to tolerate from the world. When a leader is sold out to God and is committed to values that drives ethics, moral and spiritual principles, strong character and integrity, he will have zero tolerance for shameful deeds. A separated leader that will change the world for God must be dead to the pleasures of this world. You cannot love worldly pleasures and be of much use to God. You have to be dead to what moves others before you can stand out in their midst. You will be distinguished. You will have confidence. Your life will be a blessing to your generation, and your honor will by far outweigh anything materialism, acquisitiveness, covetousness, and inordinate yearning for self-gratification can offer a profane person. Above all, you will be daring enough to champion a positive change in your sphere of influence. The law of service. The art of the leader is manifested through his service to others. Leadership requires living a humble life. Leaders live to serve. Leadership has a way of bringing you out of yourself. Contrary to the egocentric leadership philosophy of the world, that has made many people to be desperate for leadership, the call of God to leadership assignment in the kingdom has always received a humbling, frightening, thin, and avoidance response. When God called Moses, his response was, "Who am I? I am not eloquent. Send another man." Exodus chapter 3 verse 11, Exodus chapter 4 verse 10 and verse 13. Joshua on his part was so scared that God had to call him 3 times before he became strong and courageous to carry out the task God put before him. Joshua chapter 1 verse 6, verse 7 and 9. Genuine call to godly leadership is frightening. One of the reasons for innumerable numbers of people struggling for leadership positions all around the world today is because they want to be lords, not leaders. This is why Jesus made a distinct statement to his disciples about what leadership means in the world and what leadership represents in the kingdom. Luke chapter 22, verse 25-26. What it means to be a world type leader. Number 1, be a leader in the world is to exercise lordship over the people under you. Number 2, being a leader in the world is to be called benefactors. What it means to be a Christ-like leader. Number 1, being a Christ-like leader is to lose your privilege for the good of the people you have been called to lead. Number 2, being a Christ-like leader is to be the servant to the people you are called to lead. Number 3, being a Christ-like leader is to fight a cause for the emancipation of God's people. Now, the task of becoming a daring leader that will lead people to their God-given promised land is to make a deliberate choice of becoming a Christ-like leader. You need to take the yoke of Christ upon you and start learning of his life and leadership style. Matthew 11 verse 29. Dare to trade your privileges for the benefit of others. You are a true leader when you see and take leadership as a call to trade your deserved privileges, pleasures, self-satisfaction, and self-enrichment for the benefit and enrichment of others. In fact, it is becoming intensely strong in my heart as I develop this book that the need of the hour is to labor in developing Christ-like leaders who will be deployed to cause leadership revolution in all strata of the society. If the Lord is turning your heart towards apostolic and prophetic leadership this moment, I'd like to challenge you to instill a Christ-like leadership spirit into the people around you. There are enough leaders everywhere with little or no impact. It is time for the emergence of new breed of leaders. The Lord is preparing a new generation of leaders who are not going to run organizations because of personal gains anymore. The Lord is introducing new breed of church leaders who are not going into full-time ministry for a secured employment where they get predictable salary and attractive remunerations. The end has come to superficial leadership in the church. Daring leaders are God-driven, not benefit-driven. As long as you continue to take a personal thought on how to keep your privileges as a leader, how to get the best for yourself, and not about getting the best for the people you are leading, you cannot be of much use to God. You may pretend to be seeking the good of your people instead of yours, but be reminded that the one who searches the heart of men understands your hidden motive, and is saying, do you seek great things for yourself? Seek them not. Jeremiah chapter 45 and verse 5. You are only approved as a leader before God if you are ready to trade your privileges for the benefit of the people you are called to lead. Dare to serve the people you are called to lead. Being a worldly leader is to exercise lordship over the people. On the other hand, being a Christ-like leader is to serve God's purpose, vision, and desire for His people. Servant leadership is not about serving the interests of the people. It is serving the people with God's interest. It is serving the purpose of God in your generation, just as it was said about David. See Acts chapter 13 and verse 36. It takes a daring spirit to be a servant leader. Nothing can make a leader to get up and bring transformation to God's people other than the spirit of servant leadership. God is still in search of servant leaders in this generation. He's looking for those who will be ready to serve His purpose so that His counsel will be executed in all the nations of the world. The law of dream. The fourth law of daring leadership is the law of dream. The law says a person's future cannot be greater than his or her dream today. This is a call to maximize your dream. Dare to dream big. It is big dreams that make great leaders. God desires to do great things through most people, but they limit God by not being daring enough to receive the dream, vision, and purpose God has for them. They are afraid of God-sized dream. They settle for man-made dream, designed, crafted, polished, and inferior, that does not have the capacity to elicit their potential greatness. Dream is a tool for the social and spiritual transformation that we desire around us. Dream is having hope and a reason to lead. The greatness of our nations is not determined by policies, first of all, but by the quality and size of our leaders' dream. Insurgency of dreamless leaders. An unfortunate nation lacks dream-driven leaders. In fact, the poverty of a nation is the bankruptcy of our leaders' dream. The major challenge Nigeria is facing as a nation is not the absence of good leaders, but the insurgency of dreamless leaders. We need leaders with big dreams, capable of inspiring those following, giving hope, and championing change in communities. Like I said, dream is a sharp tool for both social and spiritual transformation of our national landscape. We need leaders with big dreams, helping the younger generation become their very best in life. It is the correctness of a leader's sight which determines the rightness of his people's direction. Meanwhile, in becoming a daring leader who dreams big, there are key qualities that can help turn big dreams into unbelievable realities. Turning big dreams into unbelievable realities. Daring leaders are passionate about making a difference by bringing transformation into lives entrusted into their care. Something about daring leaders with big dream is that everything they do centers on their dream for the people, organization, or their nation. Leaders who dream big see beauty in others. They are committed to helping people achieve greatness with their God-given talents. They help develop skills in others. They inspire others to be the best. Daring leaders with big dreams have their desires under control. They curb their desires by reminding themselves that the goodies of leadership are not for self-enrichment, but for the betterment of the people they are leading. Daring leaders with big dreams give personal attention to what they do. They are serious-minded. They show serious responsibility towards achieving a desired result within the time frame given. They are not just mere talkers, they are step takers. They are full of actions. They always add legs to their faith. Daring leaders with big dreams are not afraid to be alone, unpopular, criticized, and persecuted. Jesus is a perfect example of a daring leader who came to the world with a big dream for humanity. He brought the dream of taking people from slavery to freedom, bondage to liberty, curse to blessing, sin to salvation, alienation to reconciliation, poverty to riches, sickness to health, defeat to victory, and from shame to dare to be different. Jesus was rejected because of his dream, yet he dared to be different. He refused to give in to the intimidation and hostility that surrounded him. He focused on the big dream of winning the lost world back to God, and he did it. He changed the world. If we are going to be world changers like Christ, we must be ready to have a dream bigger than us. We must live our dream by pressing ahead, even against all odds. This requires that we are ready to go against the normal flow, the conventional tide. We are ready there.